You're back with Steve and Damon with more Penny Stupid podcast updates and information. You won't believe how long it took us to get to this point. At least I hit record today, and we're getting started. It is recording. Damon, I think you've got the perfect update, the perfect intro for the show. Let us have it.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yeah,
That's a Bill O'Reilly reference. Google it. It's funny as hell. This fucking thing sucks, man. We'll do it live.
Well, we're back with more updates on gig economy, rideshare, delivery, everything, helping you to make some extra money the legit way instead of being scammed. Because, oh my God, there are just so many scammers out there. And Damon, I've got a couple of news stories I wanted to talk about in this podcast. Do you have a rant that you want to deliver right now? You have a burning rant that you have to unleash?
No, I don't have a rant. I did a couple of Instacart deliveries. I hired my wife and she quit the same day. She was not a fan of the Instacart, and then now that has devolved into, though, maybe I just didn't pick the right batch because I'm still learning. So yeah. It was my fault. It was clearly my fault. It always is.
Well, you're still testing these gig and rideshare and delivery apps, and every time that you start one of these apps, I can speak from experience that the general reaction is, this is garbage, it's never going to work, I'm never going to make any money. But when you stick with it and you figure out what the sweet spot is, you do okay. Like, for example, this morning, that was a Lyft ride, wasn't it? A $5 Lyft ride that paid you...
No, Lyft is dead to me. Uber.
Oh,
I went to Uber. Lyft got rid of Lux. Lyft sucks. You suck, Lyft. I'm done with you. So,
but you did a $5 Uber ride.
Yeah, it's Lyft's prerogative, though. Lyft can change whatever the hell they want to change, and I could get mad at them or whatever, or I can just say, you know what, I'm going to go spend my time doing something else. I'm not going to drive for the crap they're offering until they figure it out. Maybe they don't figure it out. I don't know. But yeah, I went and I got paid $28 to take a guy 1.5 miles to work at Culver's.
That would have been a $5 ride.
Yeah, it was an Uber ride. I got a $22 surge, drove through that, picked that up, got the next ride, got paid $28. I mean, you can still make money with these apps. You just have to get smarter and have a strategy going in. You can't just turn on the app and just, with Uber and Lyft, gone are the days where you just turn on the app and you just do what they say and make decent money. I mean, you can make enough money to cover your expenses and maybe a little bit more if you just turn on the app and just do whatever they say and don't have a strategy. But you really need to have a strategy if you're trying to maximize your per hour earnings. So that's where it's actually where the fun actually comes into it. It's a challenge. Like, how can I get the most out of my time with this app? And when people get mad at Uber, get mad at Lyft, get mad at these apps and, oh, they're screwing you, they're doing this. They're just providing opportunities. You don't have to take.
Right.
If you don't like the opportunity they're providing, you don't take it. If you can figure out a way in your market, in your area, for what you need to do to extract value out of those apps for your time, and it makes sense for you, then great. If it doesn't, don't do it.
If I was going to do this, I would set up my vehicle where I had 2 or 3 phones or a couple of iPads on mounts, where I could have those apps running off on the side and be able to see them quickly on larger screens and just select what worked best. Because you really do have to pick and choose. And I can believe how frustrated some of the drivers are out there that have had it good up until this point. Like with Lyft, well, I want to get your feedback on that, but have had it good up to this point, and then all of a sudden Lyft is changing, and now they're mad and frustrated and feel like they're getting screwed and everything else. But the power and the reality is that if you take charge of the way that you're doing your business, you can be more successful. It's just not the way it used to be. So, Damon, you said that Lyft is dead to you now. Tell us why Lyft is dead.
Well, Lyft used to be my go-to app, right? It was always the one that I had on, and then everything else was kind of in the periphery, right? Like, oh, I can grab a bonus here or do that. But I always had Lyft Lux and Lyft Lux Black on because it paid a much higher per mile rate than regular Uber, regular Lyft, DoorDash. Most of the apps that I've done, the higher end rides with Lyft would pay just the regular Lux rides, right? You didn't have to get creative. I mean, I did, but like you could just, my acceptance rate was 85% when I was doing the Lux rides.
Yeah.
Now they got rid of Lux, they changed it to what's called Extra Comfort, and they just plummeted the per mile rates that they're going to pay, and it's not worth it. It's worth it if you have, a Prius or something like that, but it doesn't make any sense to go out and buy a nice car to drive for Lyft, or if you have a nice car, the expenses that you carry with that, if you're driving a BMW or something like that, these rates just aren't there. So the best thing you can do is just start looking at other opportunities. And so when I say Lyft's dead to me, I'll still turn on Lyft Lux Black because those per mile rates are still really good. But now Lyft has become an app on my peripheral, right? So now I'm more focused on, like I just started with Instacart. I'm just, okay, can I make any money? Now, yesterday, and again, I'm testing this stuff, so I don't know. There's an order, it was $35, and people, Instacart, what's the word? What's the opposite of rookie? My brain just broke.
Professional?
Instacart, professional? Yeah. The professional Instacarters out there are going to laugh at me. But I kept getting these $7, $8, $10 orders. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I could do an Uber X ride for that, and it's a lot faster. So I got this one. It was like $40. And I was like, oh, sweet. And it was only 2 miles from the store to the drop off. And I'm thinking, oh, good. But it was like 70-something items, 90-something units, right? So, because they give you items and then units. And the difference would be like, if it's like, here's this one item, but I want 4 of them. Right. So it's 4 units, 1 item. But still 70 things that you have to find in a grocery store I'm not familiar with because I just started doing it. And I'm finding different stores with Instacart have different levels of detail. Yeah. Like when I go into Sprouts, it just says, here's a picture of what you need to find.
Here's the store.
Yeah. And it's like, so I go like, I don't know where I'm going. Right? I don't work here. So obviously you're going to get better at that. But then you have like Safeway, they'll give you the aisle number and then they'll give you the shelf number. Okay.
Yeah.
What I found out was the shelf number is meaningless. It doesn't match up to the store that I'm in because I'm walking around going, so I asked somebody and she looks at the app and she goes, no, these shelves, they don't match up in the store. So the shelf number, at least for me, was worthless on this 90 item order that I was doing. So all I had to go on was the aisle. And so at least I could get to the aisle. But now these are big, long aisles, and I'm looking for the specific oregano or something, this little tiny, 0.5 ounce jar of oregano. And I'm just like, dude, my brain's exploding with this thing. And then you get to the produce. There's no aisle numbers anymore. Now it's just like, I need these specific lemons, or I need avocados ready to eat, or whatever it is, or I need organic parsley.
Yeah.
You just have to find the stuff, right? So bottom line is, I got to the store and I went, okay, I'm in over my head. Clearly I'm outmatched here. I called in the reinforcements. Called up my wife. I'm like, I know this was not on your plan today, but can you come help me shop? Because I'm going to be here all day. So she gets in there. Of course, she's bitching about she's out of practice because ever since COVID, she just gets all her groceries delivered. Because she used to be like the supermarket queen, like boom, 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 in and out.
Yeah.
So she comes in and she's trying to be helpful. But, dude, even with both of us trying to crank through this list, I'm like screenshotting groups of things on, because you can't put it on, at least I don't know how to put the app on both phones. I've tried, and then you put it on the other device, it'll log you out. Anybody knows how to team up with Instacart?
Put it in the comments.
I know you guys do it, but you can't seem to do it with 2 different phones and log into the same account. So I'm taking screenshots of like 3 or 4 of the next items on the list and texting them to her phone. And so she'll go off and find those 4 things and bring it back and I'll scan them. We were in the store 2 damn hours. Both of us.
How much
together.
Did you get paid for this?
Well, the upfront the upfront offer was like $39.
Yeah.
But so we're in there 2 hours, and of course, within 10 minutes, Kathy, my wife, every time she comes back, this is bullshit. This is so stupid. There's no way we're making enough money. This is ridiculous. Because we couldn't find things. Things were out of stock.
Well, she was right.
She was right for sure. But it's like, okay, the first 5 times, I get it. I know you're not happy in here, but I don't need to every time just like stabbing it a little bit deeper and twisting the knife. But obviously it was a bad order. But how are you going to learn? But we're having like out of stock things. I'm trying to text the customer, every time I say can't find the item because it was out of stock,
Yeah.
it'd want me to take a picture of the bare shelf, to prove that I'm not a moron. And then it would say, and the customer also happened to be named Kathy.
Yeah.
My wife and the customer named Kathy. It would say, well, Kathy would prefer a replacement rather than a refund. Because the refund's fast, at least. It's just like, hey, it's not here. Boom, click, click.
Next.
It's done. I don't
Yeah.
got to worry about it. Now I got to worry about a replacement. Now, some of them, it'll suggest replacements. Most of them, it just says, you find a replacement, basically. So now I'm the one having to decide. Like, there was a specific Italian imported beer that she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very specific... Oh, how about Bud Light? I mean, you know what I mean? So I'm having to wait for a response on all of these items.
Yeah.
And then she finally just would say, oh, just give me a refund, give me a refund. But it took a while. I mean, she's not staring at the app, right? She's doing something else. That's why I'm shopping for her. So all this stuff, it just, like, time we got out of there, it was so long. My wife had to leave before I was done because I was supposed to pick up my son from school. And it went over that time. She's like, I got to go. So she went and picked him up. I had to finish it myself. She was already coming home with my son when I called her and said, I'm finally getting out of the store.
Well,
and then,
don't do that again.
Not only once I had all that stuff in there, then I had to go to the checkout and they had to, check it out and bag it and all that stuff and then drive it and drop it off. All in, it was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And then to add
no
insult
bueno.
to injury, instead of getting my $38 or $39, I only got $34 because the tip got reduced. Not because I don't think the customer, I'm pretty sure she didn't reduce the tip because I noticed it as soon as I completed the delivery, right, still standing on her porch, the tip had gone down from like 26 down to 22. Mm-hmm. So I think what happened was a lot of those items that we didn't get.
Yeah.
She probably just selected, I don't know how the consumer side of the Instacart app works, but my guess is maybe they select a percentage.
Well, don't forget that all the stuff in the
payment.
In the Instacart app is marked up from the store price. So Instacart's making a little spread too.
But bottom line is I got paid $34 for my wife and I together to spend 2.5 hours. Now, granted, she left a little earlier, but that's not even a remotely good deal if I did it all myself, much less she was in that store for at least an hour and a half with me for $34 damn dollars. So then I'm, crying in my Cheerios or whatever, peeing in my Wheaties, thinking that was really stupid. Instacart sucks, da-da-da-da. And then as I was going to we had to switch. I had to go get my daughter now because my wife left to go get my son. So I'm going to get my daughter. Then I get Walmart Shop and Pay, Express Pay, offer me, and it's right. Walmart was like 3 miles where I was at, and the drop off, the house was like within 2 miles of my daughter's school.
Perfect.
And I'm on like this 25 minute window that I got to get my daughter. And Walmart throws up a W for me. They're like, hey, here's $25 to go get these 6 items.
Yeah.
And I know Walmart like the back of my hand, dude. I'm all about Walmart. So, and Walmart, unlike Instacart, Walmart gives you the aisle, the shelf, and I think they call it a lot number, like literally the spot on the shelf that so you can go and say, okay, aisle 3, shelf number 5, spot number 22. There it is. It's like that easy. It's just do, boom, there it is. Instacart doesn't do that. And it's probably because Instacart does a whole bunch of different stores. So maybe they just aren't able to, where Walmart only does Walmart. But I got paid $25 to go grab 6 items. And I was on the phone with a client, a debt client. Like, we were talking about some debt.
Their financial situation, yeah.
Yeah, and of course I told the client that I was on an errand. It was a client that, I already had a lot of interaction with. So it was just a conversation we were having. It wasn't like a real in-depth, we had to be in front of a computer and focused. But I was doing that call while I grabbed those 6 items through that, and I love the Walmart checkout experience much more than Instacart, where you scan everything in when you put it in your basket, which is the same as with Instacart. But with Instacart, you still have to then put it on and get it all checked out like normal and scan each thing and do all that. With Walmart, once you scan it, it's scanned. It's in your basket. You go to self-checkout. You hold up your phone. You scan the thing. It knows exactly what it is and what you have. And that's it.
Done.
It doesn't print your receipt. You don't have to then take everything out and start scanning it again. You don't have to do any of that. You're done, right? You put it in some bags real quick and you go. So, and that delivery was like 3 miles from the Walmart. So I got a big L at the Instacart, but then Walmart threw me a bone. And Kathy, I told her after, I was like, yeah, I was a little bit late to get Emily. Not late, I just was at the back of the line instead of the front of the line.
Yeah.
And I was like, but, I got $25 for doing a 6-item run at Walmart. And she goes, are you kidding me? And I thought she's pissed because I was late getting Emily. She goes, I'm
Yeah.
going to kill you. I'm like, well, I got her on time. She was still out front of the school with all the teachers. She goes, you had me helping you on some 90-item order for $35, and then you went and you got a 6-item order for $25. She's like, I'm going to kill you, dumbass.
Well, not everybody is as good as you are at shopping and staying in touch with the customer. We had an order in with Instacart, and the shopper said, item not available, and took a picture, just like you did, right? It's right in the center of the screen.
Maybe that's why they make you take a picture. Well, actually, it is. So the bottom line, though, is what you said earlier. Yeah, I was pissed about it, and it was stupid. But if you cherry pick and the more you figure out the apps, because, like, I don't know, like, I haven't figured yet a formula. Well, what's my cheat sheet, right? Like, and I'm kind of thinking it might be maybe $1 an item. Like, if I look at an offer, if it's got 90 items, if it's not paying $90, I'm not going to go do that because it's just going to take me way too long.
Yeah, and it's if the delivery and the store are within a small radius.
Yeah, because I had one offer today. It was like $35. I can't remember. I think it was Instacart, and it was like 27 items. So that was more than $1 an item. It was like $35 for 27 items, but it was like a 16-mile delivery. So you got to. So I didn't take it obviously because you look at, and it was not 16 miles on the freeway. It was 16 miles surface street. So you got to figure at least 2 minutes a mile. Not a lot of traffic where we were at, so it probably been 2 minutes a mile. So you got to figure that's a half an hour from the store to the drop off. And then it's a half an hour back. You can't forget it because where this delivery was not like there was a lot of work out there. So all of a sudden now it's like, wait a minute, this is an hour of car time. I wouldn't take a Lyft ride for $35 if it was going to take me an entire hour. But I still have to get those 27 items in the store. And based on my previous track record, that's going to probably be at least 45 minutes. So now I'm going, okay, wait a minute. With the driving back and forth, 16 miles each way, and the shopping, I'm probably a good solid minimum hour and a half.
Yeah. No good.
$35 for an hour and a half good? Some markets it might be, but not for me. I'm not doing that for $35.
Well, I had the Roadie app.
Used to what's good.
I had the Roadie app on yesterday, and talk about cherry picking. There were a couple of good ones that came across. One I actually took a screenshot of and sent to you. It was that extra large delivery. It was paying it was $37 for 12 miles, something like that. But the rest of them were total garbage. They were exactly the opposite. They were like 40 miles for $15.
Yeah.
So you just can't accept everything.
Yeah, with these shopping pays, the difference is the tips. Because that one that I got paid, that 75 item, 90 units or whatever that was, that took me almost 3 hours. The pay from Instacart was like $11 damn for this 90 unit shop, and then drive. Granted, there's only a 2-mile delivery, but the delivery was whatever. It's the 2 hours I had to spend in the store. Without the tip, there was a $26 tip that got dropped down to $22. But without that tip, Instacart was only paying $11. So the trick is you just got to cherry pick the people that are going to be generous with the tip and understand that if somebody's going and getting 50 damn items for you at the store, that's a lot of time involved. And some people really value that because it saves them from doing it. And other people are like, oh, here's $5 tip. Well, you're getting paid.
People don't realize that if you give a generous tip, you're more likely to get more attentive help from your shopper in the store. That's going to go the extra mile to find exactly what you want and talk to somebody in the store and see if it's in the back. If you're going to low tip or something like that, you're not going to be happy.
I was telling you earlier, I was watching that video from your driver, Mike. I like his channel. He's a good guy. He's got a lot of informative videos on all kinds of different apps that he drives for. And he was highlighting another driver that was, apparently lives in a high-end area in like West Virginia or something like that. But from the video, was
wait. There are no high-end areas in West Virginia.
maybe it's Virginia.
Probably Virginia.
Virginia. Richmond, north of Richmond.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, she was making like 8,000 or 9,000 from the videos that I saw. But the key, and Mike was showing the screenshots or whatever of her pay, but it was all tips. It was like $50 tips, $60 tips on these batches that she was getting, and she'd see like, batch pay, $15, tip $50.
Yeah.
But that's how she was able to do it. Like the tips at the end of the month, the amount she made in tips massively dwarfed the amount that Instacart was actually paying her. So that seems to be the trick, where you just have to seriously cherry pick and kind of get maybe a per item number in your head. So once you kind of figure out how long it takes you to grab these items, and you obviously get better if you tend to stick to the same couple of stores in your area. Obviously, after a month or two of going into the same store, you're going to get faster. You're going to already know where stuff is, and you don't have to have the exact shelf number. But as you get faster at that, and then you get smarter at only selecting the ones that have big tips, you actually can make some good money.
Well, look what happened to you last night, right? You did fewer rides and made more money. Wasn't that it? You did like 4 rides.
I think the days run together. Last night I made $7.
No.
Steve.
Okay, so it was the day before.
$7. I made $7 last night driving for Lyft. And
all
in
right.
my defense, I wasn't like circling the city. I went down, charged my car, had the apps on. It was World Series. World Series is not Super Bowl. It sucked. After I charged my car, I just started driving home. I got hit for one Lux Black ride. I went, okay, cool. Here's $30. I'll grab this. I got halfway there. The guy canceled. I got a $7 cancellation fee and went, sometimes God sends 3 boats. I'm going home.
That's right. Well, let's move on to the news.
The news that you can use.
Yes. So Uber Eats news. This is pretty interesting. In metropolitan areas, this is not going to be running out and around the country, but in metropolitan areas, Uber Eats is rolling out 2,000 autonomous delivery vehicles. They're exactly like what you saw on the Notre Dame campus, those little things on 6 wheels that roll around.
And Scooby-Doo. Campers.
Well, Uber Eats robot deliveries have increased by about 30% month over month in the LA area, with over 200 participating restaurants. So,
yeah.
And the videos I've seen of these things, I would not be hesitant in using it myself. If my only obligation is to walk out the door to the driveway and use my app, open the thing, take my food out, and it's going directly from the restaurant to me. All right, these things are not, whatever, multi-stopping, multi-orders, anything else. The order goes in, it goes straight to you. So it's going to be a good experience for both people. And except the Uber Eats delivery drivers, not going to be a good experience for them.
We've already hit the peak of these gig apps in terms of delivery drivers delivering. I don't care what it is, people, food, whatever it is. I think we're at the peak. It's only going to go downhill from here. I could be wrong, but history doesn't say that I'm wrong. I mean, what's the downside for these companies to continue to roll these things out and develop them when the drivers? And again, I'm not like saying these companies are great, or I'm not on one side or the other.
No, you're just saying this is reality. That's all.
Like this is what's going on. Like, prepare yourself, right? Just like the automobile worker, right? Oh, I work at a plant for Ford 30 years ago. Well, how'd that work out, right? I mean, how many robots are now building cars that a human built before?
Well, right? I had a client once, a financial client, and she contacted me. Her finances were in disarray. She had lost her income, and she worked in a town in the Midwest for a company. She worked in a factory, and she happened to be a forklift driver. Mm-hmm. She was getting paid about $90 an hour to drive a forklift.
What?
Yeah, it was a union job. She had been there. Whatever. Anyway, the company folded.
Can I go drive a forklift, please?
And the company folded, and there were no other $90 an hour forklift jobs anywhere near her. And she was all pissed at the company, and everybody's done her wrong and everything else. Opportunities come and go. You're not going to get another opportunity like that anytime soon. That was a unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, we're not living in a time anymore where you get out of high school or you get out of college and you go interview, you get a job, and then you work at that place for 40 years. No. You don't do that. I don't think I even know anybody that has worked at the same job their entire life anymore.
I probably know a couple, but I'm older than you.
Well, but they're on the tail end of that, right?
Yeah, and yes, absolutely, and it's few.
Yeah.
Few people.
I mean, most 30-year-olds that you talk to have had, more than one job or even career.
Oh, yeah.
By the time they're 30, you know. I mean, you can't count the, well, in high school I worked at Taco Bell and then I did this, but most people 30, 35 years old have worked for multiple companies that could have been careers, but that just didn't work out
Right.
for whatever reason.
So we talked about the
So, but
little delivery vehicles, right, in the urban areas, those little boxes on wheels. But
yeah,
how are people who don't live in urban areas going to get automated deliveries, autonomous vehicles delivering their food? Aha. I would invite everybody to go onto YouTube and look for videos on two things. One is a delivery vehicle called Clevon, Clevon. Those things are amazing. And the other one is Nuro, Nuro. Nuro is rolling out more, no pun intended, here in the United States. But they're over-the-road vehicles. They're already in operation in test markets, and they work just like we described. Your order heads to you. You get a PIN number on your phone on the app. The vehicle arrives. You punch the PIN number in, and your compartment opens up, and you take your stuff out. It can be food. It can be frozen items. It can be groceries or dry cleaning. It doesn't matter. The vehicle will deliver it all.
yeah. I mean, and it's just there's no downside to that from the company standpoint or from the consumer standpoint. And keep in mind, these companies, the drivers, you are not the priority for these gig apps. You don't bring money to the equation. The consumers bring the revenue. And these, like rideshare, they want to give the consumer a good, safe, clean ride from point A to point B for as little as possible.
Right.
Because they're having to compete. Lyft competes with Uber and other, right? You can't just say, oh, well, I want to pay the driver $100 a ride, so I'm gonna charge $150, and then you have another rideshare company charging $50. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. So again, I'm not sticking up for Uber or Lyft, but you got to realize from the company, the consumer, and the driver is the most expendable part of that equation. The other two are necessary. Uber needs Uber, and Uber needs customers, but they don't necessarily need drivers anymore.
Well, we could draw inferences from other fields that are suffering from similar experiences of reduced pay and everything else. For example, the trucking industry right now. You would think that the truckers would be the most valuable thing in the trucking industry, but they're just not, because trucking companies are competing aggressively with each other and lowering the rates, and the only place to make that up is by reducing driver pay, benefits, opportunities, everything else. Every industry goes through this. Well, Damon's not just picking on rideshare. This is just the reality of this industry, but everybody goes through it. So the way to succeed, Damon, can you give us 3 suggestions on the way to succeed today if you're looking to do better in rideshare and delivery?
Number one, multi-app. I think that's the biggest tip I could give somebody. Do not just go drive Uber. Do not just go do Instacart. You have to have multiple apps, even from the day-to-day, if one's busy and one's not or whatever. But imagine if all you did was, Lyft Lux, and I'm killing it on Lyft. And that's kind of what I did. I mean, I had all these other apps going anyway, and luckily that wasn't my main source of income or anything like that. But you can get comfortable with that, right? You find one, you get used to it, and you're going, you're making money. And then all of a sudden, one day Lyft goes, this part of our app, we're going to take that away. And now all of a sudden your income, Lux drivers had their income literally cut in half. If you just kept doing the same thing and just went from driving Lux to driving Lyft Extra Comfort, your income basically just got cut in half unless you change your strategy. So you got to be in a situation where you're not a slave to that specific app. If they do something that you don't like or you can't make the kind of money you want to make, you have other sources of income. So you got to multi-app, learn multiple different things. So that's number one. Number two, I would say you got to have a strategy. So even though you have multiple apps, just because you have multiple apps doesn't mean you're making money with multiple apps. You have to learn those specific apps that you like and figure out when the busy times are, what the stores are that you like, or the areas that you would like to drive in, what makes money, what doesn't make money, times of day, is there surge, is there no surge? So you really have to, and the only way to figure that out is really watch YouTube videos of people that are sharing that information and doing screen shares and showing you, hey, here's how you do this, or here's a tip for that. So you watch the videos to get the knowledge, but at the end of the day, you still have to go out there and implement that information. And let me try that in my market. Let me try that with my vehicle. Let me try it in my area and see how it goes. So that would be the big two, is multi-app and then have strategies for each of those apps. And
I
How
have
about I
a
give
third
you
one.
two?
I have a
Oh,
third
you
one.
give the third one then.
Yeah.
Or
The,
tell me before the podcast, and then I'll have to be ready for you.
the third one would be don't be afraid to give up and quit. Now, wait a minute. Let me explain. Is that
Listen, Linda. Listen,
sometimes,
Linda.
yeah, so sometimes there just isn't a successful strategy for whatever that thing is. Sometimes you have to lose the battle to win the war. It is much better for you to take a day off, a couple days off from your apps and look at what is actually going to, how can I make this work? Instead of just constantly doing the same thing. You know that there are Lyft drivers out there that were doing Lux, and now that that's not available, they're just still doing Lyft, right?
Yeah,
So
that's what they know.
don't be afraid to quit and regroup. My strategy is always when I hit adversity, I take a pity day off, and then I just get back to it. So
Yeah.
I invite everyone to do the same. Don't give up, but it's okay to momentarily quit.
And okay, and I thought of one now too. So a big thing is as you're doing these apps, start looking at the numbers because it's really easy to get lost in I'm making money at this app. But you have to really look at the numbers and the expenses. And what you're going for is profit. Like with I'm going to use rideshare as an example. You have to only take profitable rides. You can't take rides that are paying, and again, it depends on, what kind of car you have, how much gas you have to spend every month. You got to look at all these different expenses. But if you're taking rides that are paying, 50, 60 cents a mile and your gas is pretty expensive and you live in an area that's pretty spread out, so you're having to drive a lot of miles, you might not be actually making any profit. You might be making some money and getting a paycheck, but how much of that is going to depreciation of the car, gas in the tank, opportunity costs, things that you could have been doing. So you really need to be focused on, am I turning a profit? You have to think of this as a business, not as I got $500 this week. If I got $500 this week, but it cost me $4 to get the $5, you only made $100, right? So you have to look at those numbers and make sure you're profitable. And if you're not, look at the apps that you're running and see if you can make some adjustments and some tweaks to become profitable. Because if you're not profitable in the long term, what will happen is your car will eventually need a major repair if you're doing this full time and you're just putting a ton of miles on the car. And if all you're doing is just making enough to pay the bills every month and not any profit to set aside over and above that, you're going to get a couple major repairs and you're going to be screwed. You're not going to have the money to fix the car, and then you're really in trouble because now the car's broken and you can't make any money.
Now,
So
isn't it
make
funny
sure
that
if you're
isn't it funny that on the Amazon side hustle side of our life, we're all about return on investment and what are my targets, and I'm not going to purchase this if it doesn't make me at least that. And it should probably be the same thing on the rideshare side. What is your return on investment, including your time and your vehicle and everything else? And if it's not going to make you money, don't do it.
Yeah, it should be 100%. But the reason we focus more on it, I think, on FBA is because you actually have to take your own money and invest it into these items and then to turn around and resell. So you're like, is this a good buy? Where a lot of people don't think about their time the same way they think about money, even though I would argue that your time is more valuable than money.
Absolutely.
Right? But they don't think about that. They just go, okay, I'm going to go out and do this. I'm going to get a $500 check.
Yeah.
Well, was that a good deal for you? Was it profitable for you to do that? And in some places, if you're only making 15, 20 bucks an hour gross, you might be losing money or at best breaking even. You're getting cash flow coming in, but you're not making any money. You're not making a profit.
Well, on that note, Damon, let's end this podcast. We'll pick it up again next time with more news. Stay tuned. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell. Leave a comment. If you have a question, you think I was full of crap, you think Damon's full of crap, you disagree, you agree, leave a comment. We want to hear from you. Damon?
The last video, someone felt that I supported unfettered capitalism, clearly.
Well, not everybody has the right to be correct. Damon, until next time, I will see you.
I can show it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Peace.
Well, that was good.